Hello again and welcome to day 22 of the Take Back Your Life video journey, 40 days of thinking right so that we can live right. It's been an interesting journey this far, right? Well, I'm just here to tell you, we're getting ready to get into the meat of this journey. We're starting week 4 and we're talking about running towards the roar, which is running towards the things that scare us so much, that give us fear. And today we're starting with the nearest lion.
Yes, and our verse for today is Psalms 27:3. Though a host encamp against me, my heart will not fear. Though war arises against me, in spite of this, I shall be confident.
The last part of that verse, I think, is the thing that really sort of sticks out to me today as we read this, and that is that the war rises against me. In spite of that, I shall be confident.
Mm-hmm. And whenever somebody says, I shall, it's different than saying, I may be confident. It is, without a doubt, I'm going to be confident. That is very powerful words. So what is it like to run towards the roar?
Well, let's talk a little bit about running towards the roar. If you read today's reading, you learned a little bit about how lions hunt. And all of us, when we think of a lion, we think of a male lion with the big mane and the loud roar and just the very intimidating posture that they have, the intimidating personality that they have. I mean, they just walk around like knowing.
They're the king of the jungle.
Yeah, there is no question with them that they know exactly who they are and what they're supposed to do. The interesting part about it is that when the pack goes out to hunt, the lioness does most of the work, sort of like in humans.
Mm-hmm. They lay in wait, and they wait for the roar so that the prey will come at them, and then they pounce.
So the male lion is in front of the prey. The lioness sneaks in behind, and after the male lets out the loud roar, lo and behold, the prey says, that's scary, I'm running away. And they run right into the lioness, attack, and dinner is served.
Mm-hmm. And you think about the fierceness of a lioness. She is there to pretty much do everything in the hierarchy of taking care of the upcoming generation. She's there to hunt and feed the pack. She's got a lot of responsibilities, and she knows that she just has to sit there and wait for something to come at her. In the Bible, it talks about the devil being like a roaring lion, that he is not able to hurt us, but he's like that roaring lion, and he will do the exact same thing. Throw up something that causes that fight or flight in us, and we get to choose, are we going to run towards that roar, or are we going to go the other way?
So that's a key verse to remember as we talk about this, that the devil is like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour, but it's not really that roaring lion that does all the work, and we'll get into that in a bit. So, how often have you considered in your lifetime running towards the roar? I mean, that's a very uncommon thing to do.
I have always been one that has been pretty stubborn and bullheaded, and have always, I'm going to continue on the path that I'm on, even whenever everybody around's like, stop. No, we're going. So.
Yep. And sometimes it works and sometimes
it doesn't.
Right?
Yeah.
So think of it in terms of being afraid. Like, I think about this. So I like haunted houses, although I don't get to go to many.
I do not like haunted houses. I will not run towards that roar.
So, there are certain people that as they go through a haunted house and they get scared, they cower. I mean, they'll just sit down, things freak out, and they're not moving. Other people, the same vein, whenever they go through a haunted house and they get scared, they will swing at you, punch at you, fight through. In our lives and in our thought process and in our actions, whenever God has called us towards something, which are you? Which am I?
I think you enjoy that whenever, like, we're talking about haunted houses, right? I think you enjoy the thrill of it. Me, I'm probably going to swing on whatever comes at me. I'm not playing. Same for Reagan. I mean, we can even just scare Reagan in our house whenever it's dark and she's trying to take somebody out. She is not doing
I don't know. I think she's a little bit more of a coward. She doesn't like to be scared.
She does not like to be scared. That's what I'm saying, is she strikes out and then tries to run.
All of this to say, I mean, this sort of illustrates the point that when we step into a situation and we see what's in front of us, we see the things that scare us, we see the things that we maybe think we're inadequate in, maybe we don't think we have what it takes, maybe it seems a little bit too big for what it, for somebody such as us. I mean, there's 100 things that go into this. But when we run from things that scare us, we move toward danger, not away from it. So that's what we learn in the way that the lions hunt, right? I mean, as you turn around and run away, you run right into trouble. If you would keep pushing towards that roar, your chances for success go up.
And it's not necessarily that we're seeing what's in front of us, that we understand what we're coming up against, because a lot of times we will think we see one thing and it's something completely different. Whenever we're looking at a situation, it may be that we're seeing it as a threat, but it's actually an opportunity. And so it's our perception of what is in front of us that causes us to either turn and flee or continue. So the biggest thing is, how do you change your perception of what's in front of you?
This is where the book really starts to take on a whole different meaning for me, just because I'm one that I don't like that roar. In my family life, my personal life, I'm much less likely to go towards that roar than I am whenever I am at work or working for someone. I've never really had a problem taking a chance when I'm at work. I'll do something that's outside of the box. I'll do something that's new. It doesn't really bother me. When I'm at home and I'm thinking about doing something new or stepping into a new direction, I'm a totally different person.
Why is that?
Well, that's a great question. I think there's a lot more at stake at home. I mean, I'm a lot more emotionally invested in the well-being of my wife and my children than I am in an employer, if that makes sense. I know that I have the ability to do things professionally, but sometimes you're nervous about doing different things in your personal world.
I understand that. It has a lifetime legacy effect.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of what we've went over the last 21 days is the foundation that helps to know that we, as parents and eventually grandparents, we have the opportunity to speak into those kingdom changers, the ability to say, hey, you were made for this, to instill that confidence. But you know as well as I do that it starts by what they see. They're going to do and believe what they see over what we say.
Yeah, and we do that as well. I mean, there's a whole lot of things in our lives that we do based on what we see and take in based differently than what people tell us. You can have somebody tell you 10 times that you are an amazing teacher, that you teach people well, but then you still have the same apprehension when you start to teach. We have the disadvantage, I would say, of knowing our own thoughts. And unfortunately, as we've learned, when those thoughts don't go in the right direction, it begins to wear a groove, and that groove eventually becomes a habit. So we've got to be willing to run towards that roar, the thing that scares us. And I go back to the fact that the lion's roar is extremely intimidating, but it is much easier to get by the lion than it is to go back to the lioness.
Well, And it is much easier to get by the lion because, one, he's not expecting you to come that way. He's expecting you to go the other way. And there's only one of him. Whenever you go back towards the lioness, you have no idea how many there are. There may be 1, 2, 3, 5, and they're hunters. They have the ability to figure out how they're going to surround you and kill you. It's like it says here where it says that, I know this for sure, turning your back on the roar will feel good in the moment. You will feel a euphoric giddiness once you have put some distance between yourself and the lunacy you were considering. Cooler heads prevailed. You will think, and it just keeps going on, but you find yourself running into that lioness that is hiding in the thicket, that is going to take that giddiness right out.
Yeah. And we talked about the habits that we have that create regret yesterday. I think that was one of the questions yesterday, talking about what habits do you have that maybe you have regret afterwards. And running from the roar will definitely be one of those things that if you do it and you continue to do it, you'll have regret of the dreams that you never accomplished, that you never stepped into because of the fear. This is where we get into some really heavy parts of the book. It's hard to talk about these things because they are, so ingrained within us. There are so many things about fear and inadequacy that sort of pervade our lives. And so we have to be careful in how we allow ourselves to think and be willing to take that all-important step towards the roar.
Rockford is always constantly like, you're not reading, but I read. I listen to audibles a lot, and I think about this specific day right here. There's a couple of books that come to mind, and the first one is Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, meaning that if you try not to feel the fear, it actually causes you to start to avoid situations where you're going to feel fear. So if you're able to convince yourself to feel the fear and then do it anyway, go ahead and feel it and then make that choice to take the first step.
Are you saying feel or feel?
Feel it.
Yeah.
Let your body feel it and then do it anyway. And the next one is the 5-second rule, meaning that you can do it for 5 seconds. And if you can do it for 5 seconds, it's enough to get you in motion to continue. So there's some things in there about just starting. Just don't be paralyzed and cower. Feel it and move forward.
Remember, the devil is like a roaring lion. That does not mean that he is the end-all, be-all of trouble. So you have the ability, if Jesus is within you, you have the ability to take him on and to be successful at it. So run towards the roar. Run towards it. Run towards it. Run towards the roar. I got to remember that every day when I get up. Run towards the roar. Run towards the roar. So anyway, that's day 22. Day 22. So we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to be continuing this thought of going towards our fear, not giving in. And so I hope that as this week goes, it begins to well up inside you the courage to chase after the dreams that God's placed within you. So I know that for me, I've spent a large portion of my life sort of running from things, and I'm getting to a point and continuing to change my thought habits, and we're pushing towards that roar every day. And so I hope that that's where you end up by the time we finish this book. So be back tomorrow, day 23, Let It Go. And please don't sing the song from the Disney Frozen.
I might tomorrow.
If I have to hear that, I might jump off a bridge.
He might let it go.
Okay, easy killer. Anyway, guys, have an amazing day. We will see you tomorrow on day 23. Have a great day.